Some other examples of how I've received grace and how I believe grace is transferred from one person to another is by proximity, by example. I'll see a boy, the way he walks, the way his hat is crooked on his head, the way he stands. I just see his dad. He's been watching his dad, and he's imitating his dad, and he stands like his dad. He has his hat on crooked like his dad, because it's proximity. He's seen his dad so much. He's walking like him. He's talking like him. And he's acting like him. And that could be true in a positive sense. It could be true in a negative sense as well. There's a verse in Proverbs 22, verse 24, and it says, "Do not make friends with an angry man, lest you become like him." That's proximity. Don't become friends with an angry man, because the person who wrote Proverbs believed that you will become like whoever you associate with. This is a great tool in choosing a husband, in choosing a spouse. Choose someone you want to become like. Choose someone you respect, and you respect their character and their qualities, the way they walk. They're going where you want to go. They're becoming what you want to become. Choose someone that you want your children to be like. If the guy can't keep a job and he's just totally irresponsible and can't keep his word and you can't trust him, well, that's what's going to happen to your children. That's what they're going to be like, because it's influence. It's the way grace is transferred. It's transferred through influence, by proximity. You can take that same verse, "Do not make friends with an angry man, lest you become like him." You can take that word anger and respectfully set it aside and put in there lots of things. Don't become friends with a dirty-minded man. You become like them. They speak smut, and you'll hear smut, and next thing you know, you're thinking smutty. Don't make friends with a greedy man. Don't make friends with a gossip, because you'll end up gossiping. You can take that same verse and flip it around, respectfully take out the word anger and set it aside, and put in there faith. Make friends with a man who's full of faith, because you'll become like him. Make friends with a man who's a giver, because you become like him. Make friends with people who know how to pray, because you'll end up praying. You'll end up becoming like them. Make friends with people who are seeking God. Why? Because you'll become like them. That's how you choose a church. You choose a church based on where you want to go, what you want to become. Choose a church that's going where you want to go, that's doing what you want to be about, because you'll become like them by proximity. In Genesis chapter 38, there's an unusual story of Jacob multiplying his sheep by cutting into the rods of these popple trees and laying them in the trough and in the streams where they were breeding and where they would go to drink. It's a really unusual story. The sheep ended up reproducing spots and stripes as they looked at spots and stripes on these popple trees. And so I think that's interesting, that sheep become like what they look at. I think that's true of people. I don't know. I don't understand the science of what Jacob did or how he even learned that. But I know as a pastor, I've seen it. I've seen it lots of times where people end up becoming exactly like the people that they look at. The longer you look at them, the longer you associate with them, you'll become like them. We had a Bible school teacher. In our Bible school, we'd have a teacher a week, sometimes two teachers a week, and they would just be there for a week. They'd come off the field, there'd be missionaries, or there'd be pastors, or had their own church, and so they'd come and teach. And one particular teacher who came was a really sharp dresser, and he had an unusual way of taking his cuffs on his sleeves and turning them under, and he just looked sharp. Everything he did was kind of different, a little clever and sharp. Well, when he finished teaching, he left and he went. But when the guys came down to class the next week, guess what? They all had their shirts all tucked under just like he did. The cuffs were tucked under because it looked so cool. And they became exactly like what they had seen. And it happens all the time. So if that's true, if that's a principle, if that's a principle of impartation, it can work for you or it can work against you. You just have to think it through. What do you want to become like? Because you will become like the people you associate with. Amen?